I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Am I the only one?
No.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now? All right.
Oh, we can hear you.
Yes, yes, we can.
All right. Thank you very much. So now we proceed. So please, let's try to mute ourselves throughout this section. All right. So I'll go on to share the screen. So the first thing is, let's say you have an Anaconda already installed. There are two ways. You can either use the Anaconda Navigator, which I will advise you to use. Is the easiest one for you to use because it gives you a user interface to select what you want. So it's just loading. I also want to bring to your notice, apart from Jupyter, apart from Anaconda, we also have some other tools like VS Code. Personally, I code with VS Code, but I feel that Anaconda will be very easier for you to navigate. So okay. Yes. Okay, fair. Okay, so you see there are various options here. We have data Law, Jupyter Lab, and Notebook. So there is also VS Code, there is PyCharm. These are various IDEs you can actually use to program. But for this course, we're going to use Jupyter. I just click on it to launch. So Jupyter has launched. From here, I will navigate to the folder where my work is located. So mine is located in Jupyter, Jobs, Arc, Python, week 1. So the installation, I believe installation is done. So 3 or 4 things we're going to consider in today's class. We look at strings, integers and floats, lists, tuples and sets, and dictionary, if time permits us. So we start with strings. Now, a string is just a set of characters. Something like your name is a string. You can put your name as a string, like this Anthony Joshua. So Anthony Joshua, you just type it and you run it. So it's just Anthony Joshua. Let's say I can type something, maybe if I say like Anthony, and I execute this, Python will give me an error. This name is name error. The name Anthony is not defined because it's not seeing this as a string. It's seeing it probably as a variable. We'll still talk about that. So in order to define this, you can wrap it in a string. And strings, we create a string with either single quotation, like as in here, or we use double quotation as in Anthony Joshua. So now this is a string. So either single quotation or double quotation. There could be space in between or numbers or whatever. String can also compose of numbers, but it has to be wrapped inside a single quotation or double quotation. So it can be email address having some characters, either numbers, alphanumeric characters, or non-alphanumeric characters. Also, to print a string, you use print. Print is a reserved keyword, it's like a function or a method in Python that is used to print something. So you can print hello world. This is print. Then inside it, you put whatever you want to print. And what we want to print here is hello world. Okay, to zoom in. All right. So now I have to navigate. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this hello world. Then the next thing is we can bind a string to a variable. For instance, this variable Okeke Olayinka. We want to create someone's name. We can say the name is Okeke Olayinka. So now this name has been bound or has been assigned. The name of this person has been assigned to this variable name. Since they have been assigned, you can then reuse it somewhere within the code. For instance, sorry, please, noise. I need this. Okay. Let me create a new stuff here. This is name. I can type this name here and it will give me that Olayinka because Olayinka has been bound, or I've bound it to this name. So I can use it anytime, anywhere within this code. So this is string. Very simple. We can index strings. To index a string, Remember, strings are made up of characters. Strings are made of characters, and Anthony Joshua contains about 13 characters. Anthony, if you count it, A has the 0 index, contains 14 characters. And in Python, the indexing starts at 0. The 0 element is the first element. So A is the first element, N is the second one. So from here, you see that A is 0 until you get to Y. Y is 6. Then there is a space in between Anthony and Joshua. So the Python also recognizes that particular space. So it assigns that space, the empty space assigns it to 7. So it assigns it to 7, then continues from Joshua. You see here that the last item, which is A, has the 13th. So now, this name, Anthony Joshua, you can get the first character from this name using the name. You open a square bracket. Then you put the index of the letter or the character you want from that name. And here, the character, we want the first character. So that is 0. If I want the third character is what? Is H. As you can see here, the fourth character. Since we are starting from 0, the fourth character will have the index 3. So that's H. If I want the 13th character, that's the 14th, which the index is 13. So I can also access it with using this. Okay, the next thing is, for the sake of this, I will do something now. I want to clear, I want to clear everything. Okay, I just cleared the output. All right, now, there's also what we call negative indexing. First, the positive indexing is we are moving from right. So we're moving from left to right. Negative indexing is if we want to start moving from right to left, we want to start counting from A, U, H, S. That's the negative indexing. Now look at this. If I run this, this is giving me an error because I just cleared the memory now. So this name is no longer stored here. I went to kernel and I did restart and clear output. So this restart restarts this notebook. So it clears the memory. So the notebook does not understand what name is anymore. So I have to go back here to run this name again. So I've assigned Anthony Joshua back to this name. So I can now come back here for my negative indexing. So -1 is the end string. The last item in the string is -1. The first item can access it with 0, but the last item starts from -1. The second to the last item is -2. The third to the last item is -3. Just like that. That's how everything works. So from -1, -2, -3, you keep moving that way. So this the last item of this name is A. You index it with -1. So to get the 14th, the first item, remember, if we're moving from -1, you discover that this capital letter A will be -14. So we can access it here. So that's -14. Also, we can obtain multiple characters from a string using slicing. Now, if we want just one character, we can just put the index there. But if we want multiple characters, let's say I need the first to the first, second, the third item. If I need the first 3 items, I'll use 0. So this 0 to 3, 0 colon 3 is 0, 1, 2. The last name, the last figure there is being ignored. It's default in Python. So since it is starting from 0, so the last one there, if you put 2 here, it will just print only for 1, 0 and 1. So it will ignore the 2. So if you put 3 here, so it will print 0, 1, 2. So just note that. So if I want to print the third, I mean, the third items, for here, this should be the 4th item. Yes, the 4th to the 6th item. You see here that Anthony HANT is 3, H, that's the 4th. So this is from the 4th to the 6th item. So this is the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. Yeah. Okay, so you can also do slicing using negative indexing. So let's, for the sake of this, let's still bring Anthony close here. I mean, this name. So you discover that -1 to 4. Now you discover something here, this -1. Now, this thing will go, this is how it works. Remember for here, when we did this, it moved from 3 to 2. It ignores this last one. The same thing happens here. It will move from -4. This is -1, -2, -3, -4. So it will start from -4. It will go to -3, -2. It will stop. It will ignore -1. So if you want to capture everything from this -4 to the end, you can just do this other part, -4 to the end. You don't put anything, just -4 column. It will move from -4 to the end. So if you want to pick maybe the first 3, this is equivalent to this. This and this, they're equivalent. So it's either you start with 0 or you can automatically remove the 0 since it's just 0. Okay, so this is about string indexing. So the next thing that we have here is string operations. There are some operations we could perform on string. First, you can convert all the strings to uppercase. First, this string here, Anthony Joshua was here yesterday. They are all in lowercase. So print it, Anthony Joshua was here yesterday. So we can actually convert this to uppercase. To convert to uppercase, there is this method. This is the name of the string, lower statement. That's what I assigned it. I assigned this string to this lower statement here. So the next thing is I write the name, dot. In Python, you access a method using dot. You will get to understand these slangs or this naming convention, or I mean these slangs or these words later on as you move on with this program. But know that a method is being accessed with dots. Then the name of the method, then you put this round bracket. So this method actually, it takes this lowercase, it converts it to uppercase. That's lower statement dot upper. So print it, you discover that all the strings has been converted to uppercase. What if I have this string, yesterday was her birthday, and it's a mixture of uppercase, lowercase. But my own is that I want to convert all of them to, let's say, lowercase. So I just, this string, that's the uppercase, I just call it upper statement. Remember, these names are just variable names. You can give it any name you want. But while giving names, the name cannot start with a number. It can only start with an alphabet. It can also start with special characters like underscore. But variable names can never start with a number. And when you're writing variable names, there can't be space in between the variable names. There's an error here, invalid syntax, because we put a space there. Let me go back. Okay. If maybe I start with a number, there's an error, invalid syntax, because I'm starting with a number. So it can't start with a number, it has to start with a letter or an underscore. So this is a print. Now we want to convert everything here to lowercase. You discover that both this yesterday, everything is now in lowercase. Okay. So the next thing here is we can capitalize the first letter of a string. Let's say this name Anthony Joshua. Remember, the first letters are small letters, which is not good for naming. That's when you want to write someone's name, the name should usually start with capital letter. Now, the first capital, I want to get this name Anthony Joshua. I want to capitalize the first character in it. So when I do this capitalize, it has capitalized Anthony Joshua. But I know normally you want to capitalize both Anthony and Joshua. And to do that, we want to capitalize the characters of each word in a string. That's for each of these words, this one word, this another word. We want to capitalize their first characters. So the method that does that is title. Title is a method for capitalizing the first characters of a word in a string. So I am still using this Anthony Joshua. After applying this title method on it, it capitalized Anthony and capitalized Joshua. Okay, the next thing is, let's say in this string, I want to do some funny things. I want to replace maybe a name with another name. You can decide to replace is with was. So let's say for now, this is a start. This is a statistic that Anthony Joshua is the best boxer. Then when I print this is what it is. Anthony Joshua is the best boxer. Maybe I now say, oh, Anthony Joshua is no longer the best boxer. The best boxer is Anthony Nwachukwu. Yeah. So I want to replace this Joshua with Nwachukwu. So what I just do is that this is the name. This start is the name of this Anthony Joshua is the best boxer. I'll bring this start here. Start dot replace. So this replace, the first item I want to replace, then what I want to replace it with is the second one. Remember, I put them in a string. So when I print this, we'll have Anthony Nwachukwu is the best boxer. It has replaced Joshua with Nwachukwu. So you can do the same thing. Let's say you want to come to this start dot replace. Say I want to replace is with was. Is was. So Anthony Joshua was the best boxer. Okay. So the final thing we want to talk about on strings is how to concatenate strings, how to join two or more strings together. So let's say I have Anthony, I have Joshua, I have Oluwafemi. This is middle name. So I want to join Anthony plus Joshua plus this Oluwafemi. So Anthony is the first name. This is first name. Remember, this first name is assigned Anthony. So this is the middle name. This is the last name. Now we use plus to join. I'll do something. Okay. Also note that in Python, to make a statement, you use, if you want to write a comment, something you don't want Python to work on it. Maybe you're writing, you want to put a comment in your code so someone can read your code and know what that line is talking about. You just use this hash, hash, you use it to comment it out. So if I run this, say name, oh, the name is still using Anthony Joshua. That was because we've used name before. Okay, let me just say new name. So new name is not existing. Now I want to do something now. I want to give this new name a work to do. New name. So I just copied and pasted the first previous line. I want to join this. Okay. I just joined the first name, the middle name, and the last name. If you check here, is Anthony. This Oluwafemi. This is Joshua. I mean, the names are joined together, and this is not what we want to achieve. What we want to achieve is that we want a space to separate them. This just join these strings, just took this one, join it to this, and join it to this. So if we want to separate it, you give this one a space, plus. So we are joining first name with an empty string, then with the middle name and with this last name. If we run this again, we see Anthony, Oluwafemi, Joshua. The Joshua has not been separated because this and this is just being joined together at once, these two. So we still do the same thing here. After this, we want to bring empty string, then we want to add it to the last name. Then when we do this, we have Anthony, Oluwafemi, Joshua. And you have a quiz here. You attempt it maybe over the week, not for now. So this is all I have for string. And I will give you maybe 3 minutes to rest before we move over to the next thing we have. After that 3 minutes, I'll continue with the next item. And yeah, if you have questions, just chill, relax. There will be a time where you ask questions to the TAs, or maybe I may be able to take 1 or 2. No, okay. If you have a question, during the time with your TAs, you ask them the question. They're actually professionals in this area. So the next thing we're going to talk about is numbers and integers. So you have 3 minutes to just rest before I continue with the next item. So hi, everyone. Welcome back to the next section. So we'll be talking about integers and floats. We just talked about strings. And the next thing that comes to your mind is, what if I want to do mathematics? What if I want to do 1 + 1? How do I go about it? So I want to talk about basic mathematical operations in Python. First, we'll talk about integers. Integers are just integers, as we know. I mean, numbers that do not have decimal points. They're just numbers. So it's very simple to use integers and numbers in Python, unlike C++ or all those type-based languages. So you just write the number. For instance, let's say I can write 47. It's 47. That's the number. So it's an integer. Python automatically understands it's an integer. So I can assign an integer to a variable, just the same thing we did in strings that we were saying Anthony Joshua, and we assign it to name. So I'm assigning integer count to, 56 to count. And once I assign this 56 to count, I can actually use it to do anything. I can say count plus 5, 61. So now this 56 is bound with this count. So I can perform operations on it. Count plus 5, 61. So there's also floats. Floats has decimal points. So this, and maybe I say price, the price of a commodity is 25.49. So the same thing with count, with integer, the same pattern with floats. So now I can actually tell the type of a variable using the keyword type. Remember that here count is an integer. So once I say count type, I want to find the type of count. So I want to restart this. I want to clear this memory. Okay. So I'll go back here and still do this. Then I have to do this one also. This, yeah. Okay. So I can find the type of count. Count is an integer, while price is float. So name, I just defined another variable, name. I call it Emanuela. I can find the type of Emanuela, which is a string. It's a string. Okay. So we proceed. We can convert from one type to another. We can convert an integer to a string. We can also convert a string to an integer or to a float, but there are conditions for the reverse conversion. First, to convert an integer to string, you know that here count is an integer because 56 is an integer. So now I just want to create another variable. I call it string count. That's the string of this count. So there's this keyword str. Str is used to convert something to a string. So here I'm converting count to a string. So once I put this count inside this str, it will convert it to a string. Now, when I print this, this is now a string. Also, I can convert string to float, but this is possible. Sorry, this is possible. If the string is convertible to a number. For instance, this string price is 34.69. So if I run this, the type is a string. But now let me try doing something else. Let's say I call another one string. Let's say string name. Okay. Okay, sorry, I haven't done any conversion yet. Sorry for that. Okay, now this is a string. Now, if I try to convert this string to a float, this is a float. It is string, as we're shown here. I'm wrapping it around, within floats. So this float is a keyword, it's a method. It takes in this string price and it converts it to a float. So now if I do the type on this float, it gives me a float, no longer a string. What if I want to do something that is forbidden? Maybe I have a name. We have a name before Emanuela. Let's use Emanuela. Let's have this name, and I want to convert this name to float. Float name. It gives me an error. Okay, sorry. This. So the error is could not convert string to float, Emanuela, because this is not convertible. There's no way you could convert Emanuela to a floating point. But even though this other one is a string, but it's possible to convert it because just look at it, 34.66869 is actually a float. You can also convert an integer to float. Let's say number is equals to 36. If you print the type of number, okay, I want to print the type. So this number is an integer. But now, let's do a little conversion here. Let's say we can say float number. You see, it has converted it to a floating point number. So you can convert floats to number. What if we try to convert a float to an integer? Let's say integer. Maybe let's put this float 0.67. So what it does is that it just takes the whole number and drops the decimal. So the same thing could happen here. If we have integer 0.45, it picks the whole number, which is 0, and ignores the other part. So this now is some arithmetic operations. Let's say we have A is equals to 45, B is 56, C is 89. We want to find the total, not just total, maybe. We want to add A plus B minus C. It's just as simple as that. You've assigned these numbers to variables, so you can use those variables here. And you do the work at the arithmetic you want to do. So let's perform some other operations like 34 divided by 2. Let me say 34 divided by 2.3. So this is the answer to this. Then I can do multiplication. 45 multiplied by 2 is 90. If I want to raise 2 to the power of 4, 2 to the power of 4, the difference between exponents and multiplication is the multiplication just have one star. Why, if you want to raise to the power, you use double star. 2 raised to the power of 4, that is 16. Also know that Python and every other programming language that I know of obeys the BODMAS law. That is the brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So in that order. For this, once you do this, it will first of all perform operation on inside the bracket first. And when it comes to the bracket, it will have to perform the operation on the multiplication first. Then it does the subtraction and the addition. Then it goes outside and continues the operation, just the normal BODMAS we did in primary school. So this will give us -3. There are other operations you could perform, like you have 55, 5 divided by 2. If 5 divides 2, it will give us 2. That's 2 persons divide 5 items. Each of them will get 2, remainder 1. So if you want to find the whole number after the division, you just use double slash. Double slash give us 2 because each of them will get 2. That's 2 is the whole number. If you didn't use this double slash, it will give you 2.5. It's doing the normal division. But by using double slash, you removes essentially the decimal, just gives you the whole number. But if you want to find the remainder after division, you have to use percentage sign to give you the remainder after the division, which is 1. Okay, this all we have to say about numbers and integers. So this session will be ending by 11:30. So we have few more things to talk about before the session ends. We've talked about strings. We've talked about integers and floats. The next thing we'll talk about lists, tuples, and sets. So I'll still give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to rest, take some water before we move to the next one. Welcome back. So now we want to talk about lists, tuples, and sets. So we'll start with list. We've talked about strings. We've talked about numbers. For now, we've been dealing with individual items. What we want? We want a collection. We don't just want one person's name. We want a collection of people's names. How do we go about that? List, tuples, and sets helps us to gather things. By collection, it means to gather. Like I say, go and collect all the dogs, or go and collect all the names, or get me the names of everyone. Those names are collections. But sorry, this list. So list is a collection which is ordered and changeable. Changeable here could mean mutable. It's a collection and it has an order. Like it has an order. The ordering, the order in which they enter, I mean, they have an order of entering. So as they're entering, they are being given an index. They are being given, like they are being assigned an index. For instance, this is a list here, a list of names. If you are typing this, you actually type Emmanuel first, followed by Chika, Amudu, and Priscilla. So this their ordering gives them their index. When we talked about string, we talked about accessing the first element of a string. But in list here, the first element is not E. Rather, the first element is Emmanuel. The second element is Chika. The third element is Amudu. And the last element is Priscilla. Let me restart and clear this also. Okay, the same thing happens to the age. The first element of this age is 29, 23, 45, 56, and 78. So these are two lists. We've just defined two lists, names and ages. We've run it, so it's now registered in the memory. So we can print the names. These are the names. We can also print ages. So each of these person has the corresponding age. Now to index a list, like the names, to get the first item in the name, we use we use 0. So names 0 will give us the first item in the list of names. Let's say for the ages, we want to get the last item in these ages. There are two ways. If you know the length, you can actually get it like, you know, this one is the first item, the second item, the fourth, and the fifth. And since the first item is known as 0, the 0th item, this will be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So you can actually come to the ages and you can say ages 3 to give you the last item in ages, which is 78. So in case you don't know the number of items or you want to use negative indexing, you can also find the last item using -1, just as we did in string. Okay, we can also do slicing. We can slice lists the same way we are slicing strings. So this is the second and third item. Second, because indexing starts with 0. So this is the 0th item. This is the first. So 0 is like the first item, the second, and the third. So 1, we start from the second item, 2 and 3, but 3 will be ignored. Python does not count the last thing you put here. So that's it, Chika and Amudu. How do you add an item to a list? Remember, our list is, the names are Emmanuel, Chika, Amudu, and Priscilla. If I want to add George to that list is known as names. So I'm appending, say append this to this, add. So I want to add George to this list known as names. So append actually add to the last, it adds to the last, I mean, it like add to the last item in the list, it extends it, it add another one to it. After the last one, it adds another one. So that's what append does. If I want to maybe add an item to a particular position in a list, to a particular position, I can say names. I want to add to a particular position, I use insert. Where do I want to insert? If I want to insert to the first position, that's I want to shift this. I mean to the second position, which is known as 1. Maybe I want to shift this checker. So as something else to replace this checker, but this checker will shift to the right. So I can say insert in the first position, that's the second position, which is 1. go there, maybe insert, which name should I call? Paula. So now let me print the list names again. So you see Emmanuel, at the second position is now Paula, while every other ones has been shifted. This is a very costly, I mean, inserting is very, very costly. You get to know that when you start talking about this thing, checking the runtime, the big O notation, you discover that insert is very, very costly, because once you insert here, you have to shift all these other items. Okay, let's not go too far with that. So we've talked about adding, that's appending. We've talked about insert. There's another way of adding item to a list. Maybe you have another list. You want to extend another list by another list. Here I have a list, I call it new ages, 33 and 89. Now, I'll show you something before I do this. Let's say I come to ages and I say ages.append. Append, okay, let's say I want to append this 22, 46. If I print ages, you see I have this, but now I have 22 and 56. It was appended after this last item 78. But it's possible that this is not what I want. I just want 22 and 56 not to be in this square bracket. I want them to be a just natural extension of this 78. In that case, I will not use append. Rather, I will use extend. So I'll just say the ages, which is the previous list, extend this other new list, which is this. So as you can see, of course, this one has already been added there. So now I just extended with this 33 and 89. So they're just natural extension. They are not put inside this square bracket. Then the next thing is, you can find the length of a list. How many items are in a list? Just use len is a keyword or the method that finds the length of a list. 7. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there are 7 items. Remember this one, even though this one is 2 items, but it is considered as 1 item in a list. So this is considered as 1 item. So that's the length of a list. So this is about list. Now we'll talk about tuples. Tuples are used to store multiple items in a single variable. Just like list, like we have 3 built-in data types in Python that are used to store collections. We've talked about list. So there's also set, dictionary, and tuple. So, but a tuple is a collection which is ordered and unchangeable. I will give you an example, but before that, let's go back to this list. Remember that in this list, when we did append, we changed the list. The list before this append was 23, 45, 56, and 78. When we appended this, it entered into this list and we changed the list. Something else we could also do to this list is we can actually change a particular item in the list. Like we can go to ages. Let me print this ages. Okay. Now I want to do something now. Let's change maybe the second item. Ages, I want to get the second item. Remember, we use the indexing starts from 0. So this one should be 1. Ages, the second item. I want to change it to say 120. So after that, I'll print ages again. You discover that the second item has been changed to 120. So this is mutability. We can actually change items in a list, but you can't do this with tuple. And you need to know this because at times you may be programming and you want to write something that shouldn't be changed, that someone cannot index and change something. So in such a case, you have to write it with tuple, not list. Very important. Okay. So to start a list, use round bracket to start a list. Now, this is a list of fruits. Tuples. Use round bracket, but for list, use square bracket. So this is a list of tuples. We have this is a tuple of fruits or whatever. So we have apple, we have cherry, banana, and cherry. I repeated this fruit for a reason, because tuple looks like sets, but this is one of the things that differentiate tuple from sets. A tuple can have a repeated item in it. So fruits here contain this, which is this tuple. The same thing we did in list, but in a tuple, if you want to add an item to a tuple, you don't use append, rather you use add. So I'm just adding pear to these fruits. I use .add. Okay. Okay. You don't use add for tuples because tuples are immutable. So you can't add anything to it. You can't even use append. It's not possible. They are immutable. You can't add anything to it. Let's also try to do one funny thing and see what happens. Let's say we come to fruits. So we want to change the first item. I want to change it to maybe 67. Let me use something. Is that orange here? No. Okay, orange. Tuple object does not support item assignment, because we are trying to change the first item in fruits, and fruit is a tuple. So it's immutable. You can't change it. The only thing you can do is to create another one. Now let's create another one that the first item is orange. How do we do that? You can just create, let's just call it another fruit. Another fruit is equal to this fruit. We want to pick the first item from this fruit. Okay. Then plus, after picking this first item, then we want to pick every other item apart from this first item, from the first one to the last one. But, okay, sorry. For this first one, we want to give it orange. I think this should work. Okay. Can only concatenate string, not tuple to string. Okay, first let's check this. Okay, this, I've not done this before. As a programmer, you spend most of your time Googling for answers on Google. So this is something you need to know. Even the most senior, my manager at work uses Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow will soon be your best friend. Yeah, if you are given a code to write, you may spend 70% of the time Googling. So we're going to Google this together now. This thing does not work. What I wanted to do is that I want to assign this to this. Let's see if I decide to do this. Oh, it does not work. Okay. Let's go to Google to get solution to it. As a programmer, you shouldn't be ashamed of Googling. It's normal. But in job interviews, they will not allow you to Google. But when you get to the job, you discover that those that interviewed you that do not allow you to Google, Googling is their best thing. That's the best thing they do at job. So let's Google together. And also knowing what to Google is also a skill. You may have a problem to search. You go to the internet, they tell you there is no answer to it. So what do you Google? You need to know what to Google and how to do it. So now let's say add 2 tuples together. Let's say Python. Okay, add to tuples Python. Let's try this. Add variables to a tuple. Remember, the first thing I saw was Stack Overflow. I mean, that's that's where you find most of your answers. So this is what we are doing now. They say this is a tuple A. We want to add A to this other one. So it's possible to add A to this. Okay. So why didn't our stuff work? Let's go back to it. Tuple. We tried to do this and it refused to work. This. We did this and it didn't work. What if we move this to this other side? But, okay. Can only concatenate tuple, not string, to tuple. Okay. Let's say I put this. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So this, okay, this works. Now, let me show you something. I have not tried adding this before, but I just discovered this now. Orange. When we print this, just imagine this. It just ignores this, the round brackets. It ignores it. It sees this as a string. Let's try to find the type of this. Type of this. It's a string, not even a tuple. But let's add this comma to it. It's not a tuple. So very important. Yeah, I just discovered this now. I mean, so you learn every day. I just learned this now also. So just know that if you want to put only one single item in a tuple, I mean, you want to create a tuple containing one single item, you must add this trailing comma. Maybe if I want 2 items, let's say, which other fruit? Banana. Is there banana there before? There's banana. Orange, banana, strawberry. Strawberry. Okay. So you don't need to put the trailing comma. Or if it's only one item, you must put that trailing comma. So at least you've now seen how to add two. I mean, we want to like change the item, want to change something in a tuple. Let's say we want to change maybe the second item. How do we go about the second item now? To change the second item, let's say we now have another fruit. We want to work with another fruit. No, let's use the former fruit we are using. So we have fruits. Let's call this one. Okay, let's say yet another fruit. Yet another one. So let's say we come to fruits. Now, we want to change the second item. So first we pick the first one plus. We'll pick the first one, yes, then plus fruit. Now we want to ignore the second one. So we'll start from 2 to the end. Instead of that second one, we want to call it another stuff. Let's say plus this. We can call it orange tangerine. Call it margarine here. Okay, let's say pawpaw. Yeah, pawpaw. Okay. Of course, this won't work here. we have to do this. We've learned from our mistake. Okay, so this mistake is coming here because this first item is a string. This one is a string. Let's check the type. It's a string, so we need to make it a tuple. I think there should be a keyword like this, tuple. I don't know whether there is. We'll find out. Is it? There is none. Tuple, yeah, there is a tuple. So we just made it a tuple. Oh, no, that's not what we want. That's not what we want. So instead of that, we'll just remove this tuple here. We'll put that trailing comma also. So by doing that, we've achieved our goal. So we have apple. I'm right, yeah. Apple, then instead of cherry is being replaced with purple. But remember, we created another tuple. Okay, then you can also find the length of fruits, length of a tuple. You find it with length. So finally, we have sets. Set is just like tuple, but the only difference is that set does not. One set is also set. You can't change sets, so it is immutable. It is unordered, and you can't also index it. Even the same thing with tuple. Sorry, with tuple you can index tuple, but with set you can't index set. To create a set, you define it with curly bracket. So this is a set. Now cherry repeated 2 times here, but when you print this, you discover that it only chose 1, just like set we did in school. Set contains what? That's items in a set can be repeated. So these are the proof of that. Then to add an element to a set, let's see. You add to a set using add. Set items are unchangeable, but you can remove items and add items. Okay. Note this, you can add items to a set, you can remove items, but you can't change a particular item. That's, you can't do something like this. You can't say this fruit set maybe 0. You can get, okay, you can't even do the 0 because set does not have an index because it's not even ordered. You can print it and it will give you something else altogether. And to find the length of a set, you still use what? Length to find the length of a set. Length to get the length of a set. Yeah. So that's the end of this class. So we'll be going to the various groups. Maybe let me just show you this before I end this class. If you go to Discord, the Discord channel. So this is our Discord channel. So here we have different, this is the general one. Once you enter the Discord, it will just show this. So this is where you introduce yourself. If you've not introduced yourself, please do it to introduce yourself here. So this is internal news. From time to time, we'll be posting news. And this place, you have to just this for random discussion. Maybe I've not added you here. If you've not seen it yet, I will soon add you there. So this is where you can talk about anything. You can talk about politics. You can talk about anything you want to talk about in this random channel. Just discuss whatever you want. It's allowed there, but don't, not, of course, not everything. Civil talks and, please just note that, just reasonable talk, intellectual discussions there. Then for our classes, we have SQL and Python. So here is where you can discuss things about Python. If you have problems about Python, you can always ask it here. So then here is the resources. When you go to this place for Python, these are the resources for Python. Like today's class, the installation videos are here. These installation videos, here you can get the installation video. Then for the class we just finished now, you have to, it is compulsory. You have to watch all these videos here. Watch the videos for each of these. We have the video for integers, float, list, tuple, set, even dictionary that we've not covered now. Watch these videos, and by tomorrow, I'm going to send the project for the week. And that project, you have to deliver it by Wednesday. Wednesday morning, you must deliver the project. And you must watch these videos for you to be able to attempt the project. I won't give you anything that is outside these videos, but I can give you things that are outside what I taught today, but they will have to be included in these videos. You have to watch these videos, and you must deliver the project by Wednesday morning. So that's for that. And yeah, then finally, so any resources will be posted in this resources section. Then finally, we have here the peer learning. So this peer learning, we have the Alpha group, we have the Zenith group, we have the Tuples group. So as you can see here, the tutors are already waiting for you. I mean, the teaching assistants are already waiting for you. Just go here. You will see only one because I group everybody. So in your own peer learning, just click on the Zoom link and join the next section to have the section with your instructor. So I'll be ending this Zoom call now. Thank you very much, and see you Wednesday. Wednesday, the next instructor will be taking the SQL. So for me, I'll be seeing you next week, Saturday. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, you can.
Are we joining the breakout session now?
Yes.
Like
yes.
today?
Yes.
We are totally, what's the duration of the class? Because now I guess it's been like 1 hour, 30 minutes.
It's 2 hours, 2 hours. So the breakout session will last for 30 minutes.
Okay, so every Saturday and Wednesday is 2 hours.
2 hours, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Yeah, any more this thing? All right. And the recordings we made available to you also. Okay, thank you. See you. Go to your various classes. And I'll be sending. Okay, all right. Thank you very much.